Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Careers Week, brought to you by GradStar and Leaply. Just to make sure everyone can hear me, thumbs up and if all good in the chat. Dovi, you can hear me?
Yep.
Okay, perfect. It's your guy, Keanu Cotton here, and I am your wonderful host for this amazing session. For those of you who have not heard of me or met me before, some info about me. I'm a third-year BCom accounting science student at Nelson Mandela University and a top 100 grad star superstar. A few tips and tricks for all the attendees, especially those on the web and mobile app. Please ask questions, and ask questions. I cannot stress it enough. Engagement with both the speaker's content and the speaker himself is super important for both himself, for us, and for you. So don't hold back, be noticed, stand out, and just simply blow us away. It's been asked that attendees please ensure that all comments are posted in the Wova chat bar and not in the integrated video chat bar. So that's Wova chat bar, not video chat bar. If you're on the web, just make sure that you exit the full screen view in order to view the chats. And if you're on mobile, please just turn your phone to portrait in order to view the apps. Okay, so just another tip, if the speaker pops up a poll, please remember to answer it, so keep an eye out. And again, keep the questions rolling in. If you do experience any issues with the web or mobile platform, the session is alternatively streamed on YouTube. Okay, there's a trending hashtag Careers Week 2021. So get posting, take a selfie of yourself in the session and make it go live. That's hashtag Careers Week 2021. This morning, I am honored to be hosting an incredible organization for this session, and they are none other than SA Taxi. Okay, so some of you might be wondering, but who is SA Taxi and what do they do? Some might immediately think of a minibus, like it's a taxi. Well, you're not that far off. SA Taxi is a finance holding, but they are more than that at the same time. They are everything one would need to grow one's business. Here today to tell us more about SA Taxi and all about how we can grow a business is Davi. Davi is the head of business optimization at SA Taxi Protect, which is SA Taxi's insurance division. Davi runs several key teams, including IT business change, product development, campaigns, and management assurance. He's a big Seinfeld fan and not very tolerant of lactose. Davi will be speaking to us today about SA Taxi and driving your career forward. That's over to you, Davi.
Thanks, Keanu. And guys, it's great to be here. I just want to pull up my screen to start sharing. Peter, if you'll help me there. So thank you so much for the opportunity to be here. And I want to just a brief intro of what I'm going to speak about today. So I've made our slogan for SA Taxi is driving our nation forward. And I've made the topic of today's session, driving your career forward. So hopefully you'll drive your career forward with SA Taxi in the future. And I want to give you a brief intro to what SA Taxi does and where we fit in the Transaction Capital Group. Then I'll tell you quickly about my story, and what today is really all about is about you as the grads, and that's what I really want to focus on. And I'll go through a few things that I've learned in my years, and hopefully some of those things will be helpful to you. So I just want to check that everyone can see my screen now.
Yes, we can.
Great. So I'm going to move on to my first slide here. So really, SA Taxi as a business, if I take a step back, I'll tell you, I'll interweave my story in SA Taxi. But I started off my career. Actually, if I take a step back, I was at university. I took the scenic route at Wits University. I got to third year in accounting and wasn't really enjoying myself. I decided, it wasn't really for me. So I did, the thing that made the most sense. I carried on in accounting and ended up doing an honors and a master's in accounting. I'm not a CA, so I've never worked on accounting things in my career, but it gave me a good grounding. So worked at Wits, also did some lecturing at Wits, and the opportunity came up to go and work at Discovery. and Discovery is an incredible business, very entrepreneurial, very successful. And, I learned so much there in terms of I worked in a change team where you learn a lot about change in the IT space. Also worked on a lot, my specialization actually became special projects, which is, it's very, very general. And, you learn a lot along the way about sales, about retentions, about how you grow a business. And, then the opportunity came up to go and interview and speak with
sorry, Dobby. There is some feedback from your microphone. I'm not quite sure if, I'm sure everyone can hear because Peter and I are experiencing some feedback from your microphone.
And now?
Still a bit. It's like a crackling noise.
Let me see if I try and adjust here. Is that any better?
Not quite sure.
Let me try and put some earphones in quickly. Give me 1 second.
No problem. Okay, so I'm not sure if everyone has seen the poll. So who has heard of SA Taxi? There's yeses and nos going around. So just make sure to click in the answers over there in the poll section. Please excuse my dog. She is a bit attention seeking this morning.
Keanu, is that a bit better?
Ah, yes, it is. The crackling is gone.
Okay, I've just put in some earphones. Okay, cool. So you guys, you can see my screen. We're good.
Sorry, we can't hear him.
Guys, can you hear me now?
Maybe there's the earphone's microphone closer. Hold it closer, perhaps.
No.
Okay, I can hear you. I'm not sure. Peter?
Peter?
It's still coming through very faintly.
Is the crackling still here now?
Just
If you want to do a sound test, 1, 2, 3, we can tell you.
1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3.
quite faint.
Oh. Is the crackling back?
Yeah, it is. Are you on the web platform or you joined in on Zoom?
Keanu, now I can't hear you.
Oh, can you hear me now?
Ladies and gentlemen, sorry,
Can you hear me?
please bear with us with this. We are sorting it out now. I think, Javi, if you just pull out your earphones, I think let's rather go with the slight crackling.
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry about that.
Okay.
How are we doing now? Can I carry on?
Yes, I think, ladies and gentlemen, we're just going to have to move forward with a slight crackling. Our apologies about this. But Davi, please go for it.
Okay, cool. So as I was saying, when I got the opportunity to speak to somebody at SA Taxi, I really didn't know, hadn't really heard of them before, didn't really know what they did. Seemed, also like Keanu was saying, taxi industry is like, is that really something where you can build a career in this type of business? So what I've got up on the screen here is the SA Taxi landscape. And if we take a step back before I go into this, SA Taxi is part of a broader group. The group is called Transaction Capital, listed on the JSE. You would see when comes results time, it's SA Transaction Capital always has really, really great results. You would have seen also recently that We Buy Cars was added to the group, and that's very exciting. There's also part of the group, there's a debt collection business. So if I take you through some of the basics of SA Taxi, you can see that and I'm going to jump forward one slide actually, which gives a very nice view. You can see that SA Taxi started off doing finance of minibus taxis. So, you know, a lot of the operators, we call them operators or owners in the industry, can't necessarily, and in the past and now, couldn't necessarily get financing through, you know, the bank avenues. So SA Taxi, you know, provided that finance and supported the operators. And, you know, we've built up a book now of, you can see around 33,000 vehicles on our book, which is, it's really incredible. You're talking about over 12 billion in gross loans and advances. And, you know, like the SA Taxi has really supported the taxi industry. So there are approximately 250,000 taxis on the road. And, you know, 33,000 of those at the moment being with us. So that's where the business started. Then it started to make sense to say, once we're financing a vehicle, then we can also go into the insurance of vehicles. So I sit in the insurance space, and, you know, we insure the vehicles that we finance, and there are also vehicles that are financed elsewhere, or they paid up, and we also do the insurance for those. So we offer insurance for the whole taxi industry. We also have our own. We built up a couple of our own dealerships over time. So if you come to Midrand, you can see we've got our own dealership where we can originate deals from. We're really in the vertical of taxi, so we do taxi repairs. In the unfortunate event when vehicles do get repossessed, there's also you know, a panel shop. We bring vehicles in, they go into the panel shop, they get fixed. We do all the mechanical repairs, and then a vehicle comes out on the other side brand new. So we don't follow the same model as you know, normal financiers where they'd come, they just auction the vehicle at the end. So we really keep the value, and the, you know, demand for taxis is very high, so we're really able to keep the taxis their value in the market. So we're able to then originate them out again, and, you know, create more supply in the taxi market. We also do our own salvage. We've also opened up a parts business where we import parts. You know, we also do second-hand parts. We have a rewards program, which is very nice for operators, and it's just in the beginning stages now, where taxi owners get rewards for fuel. There's a great deal for tires, and, you know, they also, I think there's a benefit where we have at AutoZone where you get, you know, percentage discount. And, you know, like I saw some very good questions about what, you know, from a technology point of view, are things going to change in the taxi industry? Are things going to get more, you know, move towards that side of things? And I think, you know, we've got a team actually that works on this. We've got a transactions and a rewards team that looks at how can we do cashless payments in a taxi? How do we offer applications to the taxi owners where they can track their vehicles? You know, how do we make we've done electronic signatures. So there's so many things that we're looking at, you know, fourth industrial revolution wise, and just generally, you know, progressing with technology as we go along. So yeah, I think if I take a step back, that's a long story I've told you, but when I got to SA Taxi, from the outside looked like, you know, it's taxi. It's firstly, some people come to interview with us, come and say, what's it like to work at SA Taxi Association? So we're definitely not an association. We are, you know, part of the transaction capital group, but at the same time, we are very close with the taxi industry. We are 25% owned by Santaco. So, you know, we really work with the industry. You know, Santaco bought 25% to SA Taxi a couple of years ago for, I think, 1.7 bill. So, you know, we work very closely with industry players. We've got an executive who manages and is very close with the industry. So that's how we interact. Just my personal journey at SA Taxi has been, I started off as special projects. I went through, you know, started in insurance, worked on a claims process that I'd never seen before, and made a plan there. Then I moved around to telematics, you know, into the credit area, to rewards, and I've landed myself back in insurance permanently now, running quite big team, and it's very exciting. So before I go ahead into some of the slides, I want to just answer a couple of questions that I saw. So I'm just going to stop sharing for a minute. You guys can see me here. So, you know, when it comes to, I saw one of the questions that was asked about what skills do we look for. So we look for, I would say it's a combination of skills and the type of person. So from a skills point of view, we really look for everything from actuaries, accountants, you know, people who can do modeling. We've got our own debt capital markets team, so people who raise funds for us so that we can lend to the taxi operators. We've got a marketing team, legal and compliance. You know, we do sales, we do our own collections. We're big on IT. I've got engineers on my team who work on different processes. So, you know, it's a very exciting space to be in. And it's a space for specialists, and it's a space for people like me, for generalists, which we love. So, you know, it's really, the opportunities there for all those different skills. So when somebody comes in, you come for an interview, we obviously expect, you know, you've learned so much at university, you've got the skills, but then it's also about what type of person are you. And I'll speak about it a bit later in terms of the values, because I think and the culture, because I think that's very important. But at the end of the day, you know, that we are always looking for good and exciting talent. So I've got a team of, you know, the one team that I run, very exciting, very young team, you know, working on all sorts of different projects, and, you know, they learn new things every single day. So that's really, I saw another question in terms of, you know, women in the taxi industry, and we've got at origination 26% of people taking up taxis as women. So that's just something I wanted to mention. In terms of graduate programs, I see there's a question that's come up that is something that we're working on. But, you know, even though it's not a formal thing at the moment, when we see good young talent, we bring them in and we really build the people. So like you sort of get a mini MBA within the business by going through the different areas. I've sat with somebody on the team a while ago who was keen to do an MBA, and I said to them, what are the things you do on a daily basis? So they explained to me, I do some marketing, I go through legal agreements, I go through, you know, I have to look at some of the finances. And then I said to them, look at what you had learned in an MBA, and they're learning a lot of these things, you know, on the job, which I think is a great way to learn. When it comes to, I just wanted to address also mentorship, learnership programs. So, you know, when it comes to mentorship programs, we do have internal programs for employees. You know, they're formal ones and informal. I think it's very important that you appoint a mentor for yourself. I do it. So when I need something, I go straight to my mentor and speak to him about things. We also have, you know, we will have some sort of external mentorship programs coming soon. When it comes to learnerships, that's also something that's in the pipeline for us. So, you know, it's something that we'll be working with external partners on in the future. Bursaries is also something students, you know, like to ask about, and that's something that we offer to employees based on certain criteria. So there's a lot going on within SA Tax at any given point in time. So yeah, let me see if there are any other questions I can quickly speak to before I go into some of the other slides. So somebody's asking about if we have a customer service department. We definitely do. We actually have a couple, and we have to service our customers in different ways, sometimes face to face, you know, call centers, etc. So we definitely have that. You know, let's see what else I can quickly offer to answer here. So yeah, I think let me go back into my slides, and then I will just show you. I want to go through a few things that I've learned over time, and I think these things are things that just to keep in mind when you're looking for your first job, and you know, after you find your first gig. So these are some of the things I've learned. I hope some of them are useful for you. And yeah, let's go through them, and please ask questions as we go along. So really, one of the things that this is probably one of the most important for me, other than values, is you must be, when you're looking for a job, and then when you find it, always be present. Pay attention. There's so many teachers around you. They might not know that they're teaching you something, but you can learn something from everyone. So if you see how people speak to other people, you see how they position things, how they say things, you learn how to do things well, and the things that you shouldn't really do. So it's really, it's an important thing to be paying attention. You're there, you're in the moment. You're not always looking at your phone or thinking about what's coming over the horizon. So I've put Master Yoda here because one of my favorite scenes in Star Wars is he's sitting with Luke, and he says to him, you're always looking to the future, you're always looking over the horizon, but your mind is not on where you are now, what you're doing now. So I think that's one piece of advice that I would say has helped me so much, and I've fast-tracked a lot of my learning by paying attention to what other people are doing around me, because often people say, no, you'll learn with experience, which is it is true, but at the same time you can avoid avoidable errors and mistakes by seeing what other people do and learn from it. So that's one thing that I would say from point of view of paying attention and being in the moment. Then the next thing that I've learned, I'm a runner, so this thing speaks to me, but I think it's relevant for all of us. It's about your career. Firstly, when you're studying and getting to the end of your degree, it feels often like a marathon, and I think it often is. And then when you start your career, you're going to be working hopefully for a long time, and you're going to learn a lot of things, but it's not a sprint. It's a marathon, and you've got to pace yourself. So when I'm starting a race, I manage my race. So I'm not the greatest runner, but I know I'm doing 21 kilometers today. I'm doing 42 kilometers. How do I prepare? When do I need to go faster? When do I need to go slower? So it's a great feeling when you finish this marathon, but getting there is the important part. So in any career, when it comes to, when it comes to your degree, when it comes to starting work, nothing is straightforward. There are always things that you'll find difficult, other people find easy. There are ups, there are downs, there are potholes. There's a time when you're going to walk, there's a time when you're going to run. So it's I think it's one of those things that you learn, but when you're young, sometimes you think you can just sprint from the get-go, but there aren't a lot of people. The people finishing the comrades in just over 4 hours, those are the exceptions. Most people who finish take the majority of those 12 hours. So you don't see them sprinting from the start line. It's really about go slow when you need to. Pace yourself, understand yourself, understanding yourself and going at your pace that suits you. So that's another thing that I've learned, and yeah, it's not always easy, but it's important to try to get it right as much as possible. When it comes to learning and how you grow yourself, how you grow. We live in a time now where we're very privileged, because there's so many different ways that you can access information. You've got books, you've got apps, you've got websites, you're on webinars, you've got online courses, you're studying at university, you've got so many things on social media. So I think it's important to engage with those things. There are a lot of distractions out there also. So not to say that you shouldn't enjoy yourself and relax sometimes, but I think when you're building your career and you're trying to learn and you want to get better and you want to get better quicker, then there are things that you can do. I'm in the insurance division at the moment, and there are lots of things that I've had to learn, and there's a lot of information there for me. So I've been proactive and gone into a lot of information. I was interested a while ago in figuring out a bit of coding, so I've downloaded a couple of apps and I've been teaching myself. So there's so much information out there. the trick is accessing the right information and accurate, reliable information. But at the same time, I think it's all there and it's very accessible to a lot of us. And one of the most important things I would say here is you should always feel like you're growing. And because to be static in one place, it's not great, because we all feel, you young grads, you want to achieve things in your life, and you want to always be growing and learning. The one thing I would say is very important is listening, and it's very obvious when you're around people who don't listen. So hearing what somebody says and actually listening to them and engaging with them, it makes a big difference in the workplace. And like I was saying before, when you're paying attention and then you actually listen, it's a game changer. So, for me, it's the people who don't. There are some people that we often have to mentor and train in the team to say, you're always keen on asking your question, but are you listening? Because sometimes your questions get answered. Are you really here? Are you really understanding what people are saying? That's something that I would say. I've done a coaching course, and one of the key things that they teach is listen. You don't always have to speak. It's really sometimes it's about others. So that's another very important thing that I've learned. I saw a question about if we have an in-house legal team. So we definitely do. I'll come back to a couple of questions in a minute. So then another thing that I think is very important, it comes off the back of learning, is building your portfolio. So it's one thing to learn, but it's another thing to, how do you consolidate that knowledge? How do you actually put it together? So a great example is we had a rock star on one of our teams, and she was doing a handover and moving to another area. She had a great opportunity in the business, which happens very often. You'll never hold somebody back from a great opportunity in the business. If it's good for them and it's good for the business, then they'll move over. And I said, please put together a document to hand over to the next people. And she put together a 2 or 3 page document. I said, this isn't it. Think about the things that you do. Think about the things that you've learned. Write it down, and you'll see that it's really a lot more than this. And the person, she went through an exercise where she took a bit of time out. She sat down. She put everything down in detail, and she came back to me and she said, it was an incredible exercise. I've learned so much over the years, and putting it down and actually solidifying it built her confidence. It also showed, like, this is what you're actually doing. So don't take the things that you're doing for granted. You must build that portfolio of knowledge up, so that it's with you, and that you've learned it, and you can take it with you and apply it in all sorts of other areas. That's something I also happen. So that's what I was saying on building your portfolio, because you never know where you're going to land next. When it comes to finding the oracle, so I'm a big Matrix fan. If you haven't seen the first Matrix movie, then it's a definite must see. But what I would say on this is that when you get into the workplace, it's you've learned so much at university. You've spent years studying at all times of day and night. You've learned a lot in your area of whatever degree that you're studying, and you know a lot. But at the same time, when you start off and you go into a business, businesses are complex. I never had any idea. I never had any idea how complicated SA Taxi was until I got there. And what was very important is, and the same thing that happened to me at Discovery, you find, I call it the oracle. They're people who have been in the businesses for a long time. They understand the business really well, and they are people who are open about sharing their knowledge, and they want to help you. So yeah, I think I see a question from Katakani. I'm gonna come to it in a minute, but let me just finish on the slide. So when it comes to finding the oracle, there are the people who want to help you in the company. So you've got to spend some time figuring out who those people are. But when you find them, they will always help you, and they will always assist you, and they'll always teach you. So you must make a real human, real connection with those people, and you will learn so much from them. And a broader thing that I wanted to speak about here is we speak a lot about on LinkedIn and the rest, where you're building a network, and you've got connections. We know how many friends do we have on Facebook that we never really speak to. So for me, it feels sometimes a bit indifferent when we say, and transactional. We say, no, I've got a network, and the understanding is that they're there to be used when you need them. But we're human beings, and about the connection between us is very important. We've learned through COVID that we're not so great alone. We don't like being in lockdown and away from our friends and family and co-workers. So I think it's very important that when you start working, you spend a lot of time at work. You're going to work very hard. You're going to be very successful, and you'll spend a lot of time with the people there. So it's important that you build real relationships. I'm running a team of 20-something people, and when I go into work and I see them and I say, hello, how are you doing? And I'm not asking them how they're doing just to be transactional. I really want to know. I know things about their families. They know things about my families. They ask me how my dogs are doing. So you really build that over time. So not what I wanted to say is not to make it transactional and just something about not just something about it's on a needs basis, but it's really about how you build a human connection. So before I carry on, I want to address a couple of the questions here. So Katikani, I think that you were asking about how you build. You're saying that, I think what you're saying here is that it's quite difficult sometimes to get opportunities as a graduate. So what I would say there is you really have to keep. So yes, you have to build relationships and try and network with people, but I think it's also very important to keep going, because things happen very quickly. You'll apply at a few places and you'll get offers from them at the same time. I think that you've got to keep going. Like I was saying, it's a marathon, it's not a sprint, and we don't know what's around the corner. So you can never ever give up. You really have to keep going. I know it sounds generic, but when you're in that, I remember when I was in the phase of looking for my first job, it really wasn't easy, and you will get there. So it's something that I know at SA Taxi, once somebody gets over the line, then they have those great opportunities. So hopefully we can interact with you and we can chat a bit more about it. I see Nicole has asked a question about COVID. So just to give you a quick quick background on how it impacted us as a business, SA Taxi. So we gave our whole book a premium holiday last year because when operators weren't operating on the roads in level 5 lockdown and they weren't earning an income, we did our best to support the industry. So to give them that holiday, for the premium holiday for that month, so that they they weren't financially more financially burdened than they already were with COVID. So yeah, it definitely has. In all businesses, you would have seen that there's impact on how businesses are collecting from people and people are able to repay. We've been very lucky and we've worked very hard to support our operators and to keep our collection rates up. But overall, it's been a big shift in terms of how we work. Also, working remotely is not always easy, and you've got to do. How do you manage a team's morale over Teams? I've figured out quite quickly when my teams were okay and not okay. We've also figured out how to track productivity to make sure, firstly, to show that people are still delivering, but also what was very important for us is to figure out when people are working to a point where they're going to burn themselves out. So that's what actually concerns me a lot more, because I'm always confident in my team's ability to deliver, but it's more about are they I'm going to speak about it just now, but are they able to are they looking after themselves while they're doing it? Because finding that balance is very, very important for me. So that's what I'll say there. Let me go back to my slides. Kiani, are the slides showing? Cool.
Yes, they are.
Cool, thank you. So when it comes to values, this is probably the one that I could spend and would like to spend quite a bit of time on. It's, it reminds me, I go back to the day when I came for an interview at SA Taxi, and I compared it to an interview that I went for at a business that is known to be quite arrogant. And I came to SA Taxi. I met our CEO, Terry Keir, he's an incredible guy. He's so humble. He spoke to me. He said, I'm not sure that we can compare to what you're doing at Discovery. They're a great business. We're the simple taxi business. We're doing a few things. He took me, we call it the tour. The tour at SA Taxi took me around to the different buildings, which already was very impressive because you can see how, we sit across four buildings on one side and another across the road. So just an incredible business where you see it's a panel shop, it's a mechanical shop, you see the insurance team, you see all sorts of things going on, and it was just so impressive. He showed what he showed me compared to what he was saying, and it's not. And Terry's one of the cleverest people that I know, and he's very humble, and the amount that he knows and the amount that he can teach us is just incredible. But and I compared that to an interview that I went for when I was first looking for a job. And one of the first questions that people asked me, I said, "Do you want to be rich?" And when they asked me that question, I already knew that my value set and theirs didn't really, weren't really aligned. So I said to them, making a lot of money is very important, but there are also other things in life that I think are important also. And I just saw their faces drop, and I knew that it wasn't going to work out. And the interview went on a bit. They also said to me, "What's your favorite car?" And I said to them, "My blue Honda Jazz." And I saw their faces drop even more. So I knew it wasn't going to work. But I think that it's very important that you realize that you shouldn't be too picky, but at the same time you should have your values should be aligned to the place that you're going to work for. And it's important from an overall company point of view that the values are aligned with yours, but it also it's your boss, because you'll hear a lot in the market that people often don't leave the company, they'll leave their boss. So it's important you work with your boss, you speak to your boss 100 times a day. So it's important that you're aligned when it comes to your values, your boss's values, how you interact, how you speak to each other, how you respect each other. It's very important. And Nicole, I think there was a question from you. I'm not sure if it was today or a couple of days ago. You asked about what attributes, and I think attributes. I spoke about it earlier when it comes to the technical side of things. So we'll test graduates and candidates technical side to make sure that they're competent. But then it's really about, is somebody a culture fit? Do their values meet our values? And if I speak to you about some of our culture and values, and this is things that we speak to our employees about, it's impact, adapt, create, achieve, and play. So it's all about making an impact in your area, and if you can in other areas. It's very much about being flexible and being able to adapt, because I have the rate of change at SA Taxi is incredible. You work on things move so quickly. I thought I was coming out of Vitality, which is a very entrepreneurial space, and I thought, sure, that place moves fast. When I got to SA Taxi, I didn't know what hit me. So very quickly you have to learn how to adapt and how to roll with the punches, how to sort of surf the waves. When it comes to achieving things, that's very important for us. So we're part of a group that wants to see quite a substantial growth number at the end of every year. So, and we do achieve that. If you go look at the TC results over the last few years, they're very, very impressive. So it's really, we pride ourselves on our achievements. We try new things. Sometimes things don't work. They often do work. You would have seen Zebra cabs is something that we tried a few years ago to compete with Uber. and it's not something that worked out, but there are things that we've tried in terms of like our parts business, our insurance, which have worked incredibly well. So and play, I'm going to speak about it in a moment, but it's also part of our culture where you're coming to work, you should enjoy yourself. If you're getting up in the morning and you're dragging yourself in and it's a continuous thing, then it's probably not great in the long run. So other things that I would say that are very important is honesty and integrity. So when it comes to if I make a mistake, my boss is the first one to hear it from me. That minute, I'll pick up the phone. He'll never hear from anybody else that something's gone wrong, and I'll never call him either and tell him that something's wrong without telling him how I'm going to fix it. So, our values are get your hands dirty, get hands on with things and do it. So all the way from our executives all the way down, they deal with, they don't sit in their ivory tower and tell other people what to do. They get involved, they get hands on. If they have to read a contract, if they have to put together a presentation, whatever it is, we all pull our weight. And one thing that stands out for me at SA Taxi above a lot of other things is humility, because the business is complex, the business is done well, but there's a humility about the place, and that's what we look for in candidates. So I'll give you an example. We had a great business proposal from great young candidates, but they came in and they were extremely arrogant. Like, the way they were speaking, the things that they were saying, and, it was a non-starter for us. So, that humility is not something that we just speak about and it's words. It's really something that we all live like on a day-to-day basis. I see another question about if we have opportunities for industrial psych. Yeah, we definitely do. We've got an exec coach in the business, and we obviously need to be looking after our employees also. Let me see if there are any other questions that I can answer. Yeah, so let me carry on. So like I was saying, so play is one of our core values, but also, when I'm saying things should be fun, so don't get me wrong. I think that we do need to be reasonable, and I think that you need to use common sense here, but at the same time, you should be enjoying what you're doing. If you consistently not enjoying what you're doing, especially in the work environment, I know sometimes it feels like that at university, where you're like, oh, I can't believe, what am I doing to myself? I think, sometimes that's a bit different. You need to get over the line with your degree, but when you're working, having fun, you should be laughing with your with people on your team. You should be going out for drinks with them. You should be really like enjoying and learning as you're going along. So you've got to, as I was saying, there needs to be some balance, because not every day at work is fun and a walk in the park. There are times that are tougher, and things that you'll find difficult. I find a lot of things difficult and have to figure them out as I go along. But when you've got the right people around you who can support you and you can ask questions to, then with hard work, then you get there. And I think that the achieving things and with the hard work involved, and I don't know if I've mentioned it, but don't think that you're ever going to achieve anything without really putting in a shift, and when I say enjoy yourself, we've had to pull a few all-nighters to get a few big projects over the line, and I'll be sitting with one of our guys at 5 in the morning when we're finishing something off, and we are sitting there cracking jokes, having a good laugh, and really we've got purpose in what we're doing, and we're having fun, even though we're exhausted. So that's where you should aim to get. It's not always that easy, but it is something that you should aspire to. Like I remember when I first started working, there were so many spreadsheets that I had to look at. I didn't know if I was coming or going, but eventually I got to work on other things. But the amount I learned looking at those spreadsheets, eventually I got to the fun stuff. So just when you're starting off, looking for the perfect gig is also not. I've got a cousin who's a couple of years older than me, she's still looking for the perfect job, and I'm not sure that exists. But you will get, hopefully, you'll get quite close. Another very important thing. So when you're starting off, you've got a lot to prove. You're trying to impress people. You're trying to show what you can do, and you should do that. But at the same time, there's some self-care that's needed. You need to look after yourself. You know, I've been reading. I just finished a book a while ago about why it's called "Why We Sleep" by Matthew Walker, and it's quite scary because you know I haven't lately been sleeping as much as I should, and it's quite scary that the things that it can do to you. So just generally in terms of your health, if you're not healthy, then you're not able to do your work well. So you know it's a very important thing, and finding that balance in life is not easy. And you know some people like to say you know everything in moderation. You know sometimes you need even moderation. You need moderation in moderation. So you need to avoiding burnout is something that we should all do, and you need to just understand yourself, understand your needs. When do you need to take a day off? When do you need to not work those extra hours that night? When do you need to go and chill on the weekend? So you know, when can you find something cool to watch on Netflix? It's very important. And you know, it seems simple and basic, but it's not always easy. So it's something that I think if you keep in mind, then it's easier to you know to get to this one. And yeah, just one of the other things that I wanted to speak about is data. So data is definitely driving the future. So if you look at, there's some good examples and some you know not so good examples, but if you look at what happened with Cambridge Analytica and Facebook, they were using data to influence how people were going to vote, you know, on social networks. And you know, it was also, I think they were also involved in doing things for the Brexit vote. So very scary side of what data can do and how it can be used. But at the same time, there are incredible uses of data, you know, especially in businesses. So at SA Taxi, we have an incredible amount of data. So we have telematics devices in all of the vehicles that we finance. So if you think about, we get a ping from 33,000 vehicles every, I don't know how many seconds. There's so many interactions with clients. You know, our databases are constantly growing, and we're constantly looking for people who can make sense of the data, who can analyze the data, who can model the data. You know, and what I wanted to say on this is, you don't have to be a quant. You don't have to be, you know, a statistician to be able to go into data and really play around with it. But I think it's important, if you know, it's for me, for everyone to understand the basics of data, understand its uses, understand its power, because that's really what's driving things in the future. So you know, when it comes to helping our operators and how they manage their businesses, there's so much data that we share with them and look to share with them. You know, it's you know, in the past, and we joke about it sometimes. Sometimes we'll see something in the data and we'll make a decision that doesn't align with what we see in the data, but that's okay, because it's still a data-driven decision, because we've looked at the data. So getting accurate data is, you know, always, if my teams come to me with a data set, the first time I always tell them to go back and look at it in more detail and then come speak to me. But once you've got good solid data you can look at, it's really what's driving the fourth industrial revolution. It's really driving change in businesses, where you know now you don't use the force to decide how you're going to make a call. You look at what's happening, and then how do you pivot from there. So that's really what I wanted to end on when it comes to data, because you know, all businesses today, no business is running without some sort of data behind it. You know, you're looking at the numbers, you're looking at how you can improve things. You know, and that's I think where the future lies. And yeah, I think with that, I wanted to say thank you to everyone. I hope that some of these tips helped. And I think just from an SA Taxi point of view, we're very excited to engage with graduates. We really want to speak to as many graduates as possible and see what opportunities there are. So I think hopefully Keanu and team can provide my details and Narish's details. And yeah, we look forward to hearing from you.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Davi. You've actually went through all the relevant questions, so we will not be doing a Q&A because Davi has really indulged in the questions throughout while he was speaking. With regards to your information, I'm sure they'll be able to search you up in the information there. They're allowed to search for the various people, and then they can contact you there. Or I'm not sure if your information is in the exhibitor, in your exhibitor's booth. I'm sure you can put it up there as well. Otherwise, that was Davi, people. That was SA Taxi. I'd really like to just say thank you so much for the amazing and insightful information on how to drive our careers. For me, the key takeaways would be to be present and pay attention, to arrive prepared in any situation. Network people is key. It's super important. And don't worry about the pace. Pace is not important. It's basically just applying yourself. Davi actually reminded me of a motto of my high school principal. He always spoke about the 3 R's: read, read, and read. Because when you read, you learn and you grow in many ways. So reading is very important. It impacts the building of your portfolio and it can improve your values as well. Okay, so that's it for SA Taxi, people. Again, thank you to Davi for today's session. You were absolutely great. We'd just like to say thank you to Investec as the main event sponsor of Career Week. And that was it, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for attending. If you'd like to check out more and find out more about SA Taxi, please ask them some more questions. Just pop into the exhibitors booth. If you're on the web, it's on the left-hand side. On mobile, look for the exhibitor tab below in your screen. And again, ask the questions, show your interest, and simply just stand out. Just to mention a few competitions and prizes that are coming up in a few of the other sessions, we have GradStar. So for GradStar, you have to download the GradStar app from your mobile app store, enter the DHL GradStar Awards through the app, and attend the GradStar workshop on Thursday, the 27th at 3 p.m. If you do so, you stand a chance of winning one of Hawaii's watch fits, one of 500 Rand Nando's voucher, and there is 100 future fit assessments with strength reports available that is up for grabs. And then there we have PPS. PPS is giving away daily 1,000 Rand worth of PPS unit trust. That was from yesterday until tomorrow. So in order to do that, just go to the exhibitors booth and enter the raffle or sign up for the grad information. Then there is Old Mutual. Old Mutual has a 500 Rand take-a-lot voucher coming up. And that was it, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much again. Thank you, Davi, once again. And do not miss out in the upcoming sessions. We have Toyota later today, and then we have everything else coming up tomorrow. Thank you so much, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.